Moderna has been an unusual company in the biotech sense of things because most biotech companies focus on individual drug assets, and Moderna actually focuses on platform, a common set of technologies or biological breakthroughs that can allow many, many products to be generated. And so in this case, the one platform that we built was a platform based on messenger RNA. The technology to design, make, analyze, scale mRNA, none of that was existent at all, either in academia or in industry. And so we had to build it from scratch. We knew that out of that platform would come many, many drugs. And in fact, by 2015, we started testing our first vaccine, which was a flu vaccine, actually. And from there, we expanded that such that by the time COVID-19 arrived, we already had almost 20 different programs that we were developing internally for human therapeutics and vaccines. So we went from an idea to a platform to a robust pipeline of products, plus a platform which itself was growing in its scale. And that has been kind of the 10-year journey that Moderna took to get to the point in 2020 when we started applying it to yet another vaccine, but in this case it became a pandemic vaccine. Early in January, we began to read about a mysterious disease in China, which is always of interest to us because we do vaccines, and so we always want to keep an eye on this. But by no means did we realize it was going to be a serious threat. And so kind of a couple of weeks into January, the sequence started appearing of what this virus might be. Once we knew it was a coronavirus, we had a program in the MERS, the Middle Eastern variant of this coronavirus. So we knew that there was a basis to think that we could do a vaccine there because we'd already been working on that. January 21st was a date that really was significant in that that's the date when Stefan and I had a discussion where he had been exposed to a lot of public health officials who were concerned about this becoming more serious. And we had to make a decision, do we want to add yet another program to our pipeline overnight to begin to make the drug for testing or the vaccine for testing. We decided to do that. It was not called a pandemic. There hadn't been many deaths at the time. We decided to do that partly because we could, meaning our platform lent itself to it, and partly because we thought it would be a great way to test how quickly our platform could respond. The job went not from look how fast we can go to look how far we can scale and how well we can execute getting something all the way to clinical approval. And that was a totally different decision, which we were almost forced to make at the time. By the time this became a pandemic, there was no return. But interestingly, in the beginning, we would have done this even if it didn't become a pandemic, because there's a great scientific, medical unmet need that featured our platform. We'd spent 10 years and over $2 billion developing up until that point. We got the first information that it was efficacious back in May of 2020 in our phase 1 trials in humans. There was no question we were generating a huge amount of antibodies, more than sufficient for any other coronavirus, and we were sure that this was going to be efficacious. But that was in a very small number of people, hundreds of people, whereas now we needed to do it in tens of thousands of people. The data for that came about in November of 2020. Not only did we know that it was going to be efficacious and how efficacious it was at the 94+% level, but also that it was safe. And we were very gratified because that singularly de-risked almost all of our other vaccine programs at such a large scale, because our product, unlike normal vaccines, is exactly the same product no matter what we're going after, with the exception that the sequence of RNA is slightly different. So the molecule that we put in, the LNP, the particles, the RNA, they're all basically the same constituents in a slightly different order, making a different protein. The safety concerns come from the LNP, come from putting mRNA, and now suddenly we had massive amount of data. We were very happy about that. Of course, since then we've now given this to hundreds of millions of people, and the safety profile has stretched over that. We had 20 programs before COVID came, and we have 34 programs now. We have added some programs. We think that the vaccine de-risking certainly makes it necessary for us to work on seasonal flu. RSV is another vaccine program which we have accelerated as a result. It's another respiratory serious viral infection. We are working on combinations of mRNA vaccines, something else that's quite unusual to think about. Right now we take one shot for flu, take a booster shot for COVID. Well, what about if you can put all these into a single shot? Well, our technology allows you to do that because it's a set of molecules and the same carrier can be used with a single shot, which is much more compliant. HIV is another program we've accelerated as a result of this, because now that we know we could make a multi-antigen kind of vaccine, which means many different things inside of our vaccine. HIV needs many, many antigens. It's not a single protein you're going to make. We have cancer programs, we have cardiovascular programs, we have rare disease programs. And how we decide among those is a portfolio analysis of the kind of risks inherent in each, how quickly we can make progress to take some of these into late-stage clinical trials, maybe even the market. So we want to have some late-stage programs, some early programs, pretty kind of typical of the way one thinks about a big portfolio for a pharmaceutical company. The only difference is all of this derives from our platform. So there's a commonality and there's an intrinsic shared risk that we're leveraging in every decision we make.